Okay, folks, now I'm going to be completely transparent from the jump. I've never watched Grownish. Never watched it. Um, in terms of Blackish, I've watched like a grand total of like 4 episodes. So you're probably wondering, Jeremy, why are you even doing this video? I don't know. Here's the thing. A couple days ago, and I mean just out of nowhere, I was on YouTube just, checking on, I need some background noise while I edit some videos. And I saw this clip and I'm like, wait a minute, isn't that Trevor Jackson? And I clicked on it. And it was a scene where his character Aaron was at his dorm room and the girl Zoey, like I said, excuse me, I don't really know these characters like that. And I remember, wait a minute, I think I saw a reel about this like 3 months ago when I was scrolling on Instagram. It's like, when you finally realize your self-worth or something and, you let her know when you're tired of being treated like an option. Look, I'm single as hell, so it's not uncommon for Instagram or social media to, put crap like that on my explore page. And I'm like, sheesh, come on now. But in any case, he has this, just scene where he goes in on her because apparently he was counting on her to make a call to her dad to get him in for the upcoming round of job interviews because long story short, he has student loan debt. He has a plan set out. He's like, trying to get his foot in the door as soon or before he graduates college in a few months in order to, get a good paying job to pay this debt down. Now, like I said, I've never watched Grownish outside of this clip. But then I'm like, well, this clip was pretty good. 2 days later, I get another clip. And it's the clip from the job interview. I'm like, oh, context as to why he was pissed off. So I watched the clip. He showed up for the job interview, waited a couple hours. All the other applicants had done their interviews. And Dre, portrayed by Anthony Anderson, came out of the room and saying he was leaving for the day. And Aaron tries to catch up with him and explain the situation. But it turns out Zoey never called him. And he says that, hey, your resume looks good, but I already filled the job, keep your head up. And I'm like, I'm actually somewhat intrigued. So I actually just finished watching the episode, season 3, episode 6, called Real Life SHIT. And I'm like, wait a minute. I didn't know. Well, of course I didn't know because I never watched it. Halle and Chloe Bailey were in this show. So I watched the episode, like I said, and I somewhat enjoyed it. I don't know if I'm somewhat tempted to just binge it, but I'm like, man, this is like a 7-season show. But I think it's one of those things where I liked it because I lived it in terms of dealing with college and student loans, which I'm still dealing with and things like that. But and I did some lore digging, a bunch of compilation videos, forum posts. Aaron and Zoey, it's like one of those situations where Zoey is a selfish brat who had a silver spoon in her mouth because her parents spoiled her. Aaron being, well, the nice guy, being used a bunch by Zoey, pretty much giving Aaron from Sisters vibes. And the one time he asked her for a favor, she didn't come through for him, and I can understand why he was mad. So I wanted to do a video about this scene, not a full episode review. I'm only going to talk about the things relevant to Aaron and Zoey. Like I said, I've only watched the one episode. I don't know how their relationship pans out after this episode. But if you like this video and it gets a decent amount of views, maybe I can, throw in some Grownish content on the channel just for fun. I know the show is over, but it's not uncommon for content creators to kind of go back and give their thoughts on, this shipping from this show or, specific episodes, give or take. But like I said, I can relate to this, so I figured I, want to talk about it. Now, before moving forward, make sure you take a moment to thumbs up the video to show you like it. Hit subscribe, follow me on social media, and let's jump into this. So yeah, this episode dropped on February 20th, 2020. So what was I doing in 2020? Oh, dumb question. But yeah, this was what I was going into. Yeah, I had just been 2.5 years self-employed. So I was out of college for about 4 or 5 years at this point, I believe. I think so. I forgot. Yep, that's age for you. But the thing is, the episode starts off with Aaron and his boy, going to a job fair. Man, I do not miss those things. And, when Aaron's talking to his friend, he's pretty much breaking down his plan of, and I was Aaron going to the financial aid office every semester, or, looking up scholarships but never getting anything. Going to the student accounts department to make sure I was always up to date on my loans, how much I owed. Because, man, this is crazy. It's true, when it comes to student loans, they give you a bunch of quote unquote easy money, free money. Yeah, you have to pay it back, but at the time it's like all you gotta do is sign a piece of paper and you can get up to six figures if needed, and a free t-shirt. But then by the time you graduate, you owe almost double what you got from them and the shirt off your back. So Aaron's plan was, I got it all figured out. I'm going to get this job, cushy 6-figure job, and, be able to make a huge chunk of student loan debt just go away in a matter of years. And I'll be on my way to the top. And I'm thinking, that's not how it works. At least not when I graduated, because when I was in school, that's when things shifted. Because right when I finished high school, everything was good. Like, hey, if you left a job on Tuesday, you'd have a new job by Wednesday afternoon. But all of a sudden, when I started school, experience came into play. I don't know where it came from, but it went from all you need to do, go into an interview, show you have good work ethic, and you'll get a job. But a college degree, that will open the door to bigger, better jobs and higher paychecks, higher salaries. But like I said, when I was in the middle of my degree, hey, you need 5 years experience. You need 15 years experience. What do you mean? Unpaid internships. It was crazy. So it sucked seeing Aaron deal with this, but at least the man had a plan. Like, he definitely wanted to do a bunch of strategies in order to make sure he got his foot in the door, so when he crossed that stage for his degree, his life would get started. But man, it's crazy to me how when you look at shows like this or Different World, the perspective you have after you have finished college and you have dealt with the real world, it makes you appreciate these shows better. See, yeah, like I feel like if I would have watched this show 5 years ago, I'd still appreciate it, because at the time I had already finished grad school. I had already worked in the working world, and I was working for myself. But yeah, this episode really stood out to me. So he goes to the job fair. A lot of the jobs, hey, we only take accounting majors, or actually your expertise doesn't really fit the bill for what we're looking for. And then from there, he asks Zoey for a favor. Hey, can you talk to your dad, to get me a spot in the upcoming round of interviews? And she says, yeah, because he visits her at her job. And at first I'm like, wait, is she even paying attention? Because she's like taking photos of clothing and stuff like that. I guess it's for her job. Like I said, I don't really know much about the character. But she does turn around and gives her full support to him, and even recommends, hey, you know what? Wear this suit jacket. It'll look nice on you for the interview. So then the next day he goes to the interview. And when I first watched the clip of the interview, I'm like, yo, why is he mad at Zoey? Because he sat down for a couple hours, and then it turns out his name wasn't even on the list. So I'm like, why didn't he go up to the front desk? Like, that's the thing you do when you get to a job interview. You go to the receptionist, basically like a doctor's appointment. You just check in, hi, my name is, for an interview, just to make sure you're on the list. And he did that, but the woman at the desk was on the phone and dismissed him, just told him to go take a seat. So yeah, that kind of pissed me off there, because he's just sitting there waiting for hours, and everybody, he's watching Dre interview this person, that person. And then when he gets up to leave, he's like, wait a minute, am I on the list? I should be on there. No, you're not. So then he catches up to Dre, and like I said earlier, he wasn't on the list. He checked the resume, it looks good, but he already filled the position. So then he texts Zoey, good looking out, homie. And then she's like, oh my God, the interview. So then she blows up his phone trying to get, him to respond to her, but he's not. And then she takes a moment to speak with her friends, and they pretty much tell her like, yeah, you do have a tendency to be selfish and whatnot, and you ought to feel bad because, he asked you for a favor and you flaked on him. And then they go into a spiel about, student loan debt and stuff like that. But I'm not talking about that. I'm here to talk about Zoey and Aaron specifically. Now, from there, she goes over to the dorm room. And like I said, he pretty much tells her off like, all the times I've helped you out, I asked you for one thing and you couldn't even do it for me. And that hurt. It really did hurt because I like the acting in the scene. And like I said, I don't know this Zoey character well, but based off the comment sections and things I've read online, she's not necessarily the most friendly person, or basically she's not as nice as she lets on, like she lets people down despite, people being there for her whenever she needs them. But yeah, it's one of those things where who do you blame here? Zoey definitely needs to take a lot of the blame because she made a promise and, well, she didn't come through. Remember, her job was just to call her dad to see if he can get Aaron on the list. Because apparently, at the job fair, everybody applies who wants to get an interview. And then from there, the company would reach out to those they selected to come in for an interview. But, with Aaron just filling out the form and basically using his connections, and this is why networking is important. It's like, hey, I know your dad works at this company, so maybe you can help me out to make sure I get an interview. The thing was, it wasn't about Zoey guaranteeing Aaron a job. No, it was about securing him an interview spot. So when she went to the dorm, not to talk with Aaron, but to talk with her friends about it, I think Aaron's boy, and was trying to pass on some guilt, like, he's over 6 figures and he's in 6-figure debt right now. And your job was to set him up for an interview to hook him up. And thankfully, one of the other friends like, hey, it's not, right to put Aaron's financial burden on Zoey. That's not it. Because even if she did get the interview, that doesn't mean he would have been guaranteed the job. But man, it really does suck when you have friends like that, and not even to keep score, but if you've been there for someone a bunch of times, like whenever they need you to talk or do something, no questions asked, you just help them out because you're a friend. But when you ask them one thing and they let you down, it hurts. It really does. So I look back at the discussion when he's like, look, I'm really trying real hard right now not to say anything disrespectful, so I need you to give me some space. But she wouldn't back off, and then that's when he gave her an earful about herself. And she did kind of come through at the end because she did say that she called her dad, but of course he cut her off before she could go further. Like, yeah, your dad said, you hadn't called him in weeks, so But apparently he was able to hook him up with a job with the dean. I forgot the guy's name. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Because he's a dean at the school. And I know this comedian. Trevor Jackson, J.K. I don't know. I can't find his name. Well, basically, he calls Aaron in for an interview to be like his assistant. And even though it doesn't have a loan forgiveness program, him working for the school means he can go to grad school for free. So everything works out in the end. But yeah, I thought it was pretty interesting to see the dynamic between Zoey and Aaron because, man, college ain't no joke. It really is not. So with that being said, let me know your thoughts on my 2 cents on this grownish scenario. Like, whose fault was it about the interview? I mean, like I said, really on Zoey, but what can you do? Like and subscribe, and if there are any particular, I don't know, maybe a blackish episode you want me to check out or a grownish episode you want me to check out, let me know and I'll talk about it.